two creative worlds, two strong perspectives. So please welcome Christiane Arp, the Chairwoman of Fashion Council Germany, and in conversation with actress and performer Florence Kasumba. Please welcome on stage.
Good morning, everybody. Are you enjoying Fashion Week in Berlin? I hope so. Happy to have you all here on a Sunday lunchtime. And I'm so happy that you are here, Florence, that I can welcome you here on stage. We talk fashion. What does fashion mean to you, Florence?
Fashion, I keep saying, it's not just superficial. It's not just the cover that I wear. Fashion is beauty. It can be protection for me, depending on what I do. I do action movies, so sometimes I need fashion that protects my body. Fashion can be creating distance. If I'm moving through Berlin, the city that I live in, sometimes I need private time and I'm very aware of what I wear. Sometimes fashion can be very inviting. It can start a dialogue because you meet someone, you're like, oh my gosh, what are you wearing? Can you tell me where you got it? Other times I'm quiet and then I'm like, not that approachable. And that's how I use fashion to communicate, to get into a conversation, to keep the distance, to celebrate the occasion that I am, or maybe to celebrate a movie, depending on what context I use it for.
Did fashion already play a role in your childhood or teenage age? I know the answer, and it's just wonderful. So,
well, I have to admit, I was raised by a mom who came to Germany at the age of 16 without parents. So her, as a teenager, she was very free with what she wore. She, I told you, was a nurse. And for example, when she had to wear her uniform, she skipped the pants just because she wanted to create a look. So I was raised by her, and she never gave me any restrictions, which means I could discover my body. I could discover as a young person, I would wear tight things and I would like to show my body. I'm also a dancer, so it's easier to move in the room when my costume is a second skin instead of moving with something big. I was influenced by fashion as a child. Also, I used to work in a store where we would sell leather and rubber and high heel boots. And yeah, that was definitely a lot of influence from the age of 14, 12, 14, yeah.
But that also means that you had the freedom to express yourself, which
Yes.
I think is something that is really important to have the freedom to, and not, have laws and orders that you have to follow in your family, your moms, your dads. So
I think the big difference is I get asked that now when people ask me, hey, you express yourself in a certain way. It's because I wasn't restricted. It's because nobody told me you need to be aware. Okay, I got some rules, but they were just basic rules. Like if you wear a skirt, can you leave your legs together? These are the rules that I got, but nothing like don't put this on because of. And maybe that's also one of the reasons why I'm extremely comfortable wearing male and female and everything in between clothes, because I don't restrict myself.
Mm-hmm. Do you make a difference in your choice of outfits as a private person and in public appearances?
Yes, I like wearing black. So most of the time people see me in black. But I also noticed that, let's say, Berlinale starts soon, and we have amazing talent here in Berlin, designers. And I like to work with them, and especially when they create something in color and something big that people might judge as, I'm not going to wear it because it causes too much noise. That's the stuff I like to wear, just because I think somebody created it, somebody crafted it, and I then see it as my responsibility to present it. So I'm way more open when I'm doing official work or when I enter public spaces, just because then I'm open for discussion. Then I'm open for, okay, let's talk about the look, let's talk about the job, let's talk about what I thought putting this on.
We also talked about makeup, because I just gave you a compliment that I love your makeup so much. And then you told me that you see it as part of that you become art in a way with the outfit.
Yeah, I learned maybe starting in the theater from an early age. They taught us how to do makeup. So as a performer, people don't do your makeup. You can't do the makeup for the whole cast. So you have to learn it. I started learning doing makeup at the age of 19. But when I come here, for example, I work with a very good makeup artist here in Berlin, and she is as much interested in fashion like me. So we think about, okay, what am I going to wear today? Is it going to be inside or outside? What color are you going to wear? So we try to find a color that is in the costume, in the outfit, maybe on my face. And that way you can create a story. Sometimes I can also ask the director directly, what are the things you'd like me to emphasize? And sometimes it's just about the look, and then my face is more quiet. So I play with that also.
Is there an era that has influenced your fashion and your style, fashion sense the most? For me, and I'm telling that all the time, I was born in the early 60s, and so the 80s had a big influence. But it was this part when the Japanese came to Paris that influenced me the most, because at that time, I grew up with this movement of feminism, and I had the feeling I had to cover myself. I don't know whether I didn't want to be a woman, but I don't want it to show my body. So I felt protected with the big oversized jackets that my grandfather used to wear. And then there was this picture on the runway from the shows in Paris, and I looked at it, and that was what I was wearing. There were the Japanese. So that has an influence. I mean, look at me. I still look like in the 80s at the runway. So it stayed with me. I mean, this sense of, era that influenced you till today.
For me, it's era. I love the 80s. I love big shoulders. I love the music from the 80s. So definitely music influenced me. What were the artists wearing back then? I do have to admit, I get influenced by the different rooms that I enter. If I'm moving in a musical theater environment, people are very outgoing when it comes to fashion. That's when I learned from the age of 19, I can experiment. When I did Lion King in Hamburg, I was working with Africans, and I'm not used to be around African people because I grew up in Germany. And all of a sudden I discovered, wow, they're wearing color and tight clothes, and they're showing their body, and it's not sexual. It's just like, this is my body and I'm not going to hide it. I was influenced by the cuts. So depending on what spaces I enter, now fashion, for example, you're definitely one of my influences, because there's a lot I like that you wear that I naturally, many years ago, already would pick out of a cupboard. That is why I love your project Doppelreihe, because I understand that if the professionals are there and they can curate or help me and consult me because they know how I function with what I could wear and what I can combine, this is also a type of influence that I have. Then, of course, the dance world, which is more strict. Back then, when I was younger, I had longer hair. My hair was always back, because when you go on stage and you're the ensemble, you don't want to stick out. I can follow rules 100%. So I distinguish between when can I be free and I can be flow, and when do I maybe feel the energy of the event and I show up like it's maybe asked.
Doppelreihe, short explanation, is a concept I invented with my close friends Josefa Rodriguez and Wiebke Brederhorst. We are all three stylists. And we do pop-ups 4 times a year, stores, and it's vintage design and secondhand. And and Florence is our customer, which we're really happy about. But it comes with styling as well. So if you want the full service, then you get the tip-to-toe styling advice. But we have this wonderful conversation. So we started our conversation about fashion there, I have to say. And she buys all the wonderful pieces. So we love to know where they are. So, when did you first stand on stage? You talk about stage. When did you stand on stage first?
I think what people don't know, I play saxophone. And I started playing when I was 12, and I was in an orchestra. And we played good old German music. So I learned how to march like soldiers and play music with it. So that was my first passion, music. I had a lot of concerts with the orchestra until I was 19 and I moved out. That was the first time that I was on stage. Also, I went to the theater at the age of 12 and I saw a musical. And like I said earlier, I didn't grow up in a black environment. I saw Starlight Express in Bochum, and there were all these black performers on stage, and they were speaking in German with an English accent, and I thought that was so cool. And they were so athletic, and that's when I saw myself, because I'm a very athletic person. And that's when I said to my mom, "This is what I want to do."
So it was an early stage that you
Yeah.
already knew that you wanted to be on stage.
100%.
You mentioned something, but you are kind of, yeah, really incredible because she dances, she sings, you act.
Yeah.
How important is costume for you? You said a bit about dancing already, but I mean, acting then is different, I
When
could imagine.
I play a character, I'm not myself. I give the character my essence, but I still have to follow what is in the book. So usually when we show up working, there is a costume designer, and they will have a conversation with the director how they can imagine a character to be. For me, that helps a lot. There's a difference if I wear a tight uniform, which also protects me when I fight, but which also represents the army, for example. Or if I play a prostitute and they tell me, okay, that's a woman, she's revealing her body, then the costume helps me creating the character and going into space with it, because you move in a different way depending on whether you feel restricted or whether you have all the freedom. Also, photo shoots, when you have them and you have these white soft materials, you move in a completely different way. You know that if a material can fly, you want the audience to know what it can do. And I like to use my abilities to show off whatever I wear. And in acting, it helps me playing the character or getting into character.
Is it a dialogue between you and the costume designer, or is it that you say you want this because you want this, create this feeling, ugly shoes because, for example, yeah.
I think it depends on the confidence of the people I'm working with. A lot of the time, if these people know me and they know my abilities, I just lean backward and I let them do their work. Sometimes people don't know me and I enter the room. I had it a couple of times, especially with American people. They would say, "Oh my gosh, who is she?" Because I have no hair and I'm comfortable with myself. So that's when we sometimes start a discussion. That sometimes they have something in mind, but then they see me move and they say, "Okay, we can change this." Like sometimes they want me to wear a wig because they think, we want you to play this witch. And then I walk in and they're like, "Oh no, we actually leave you exactly the way how you are because it works." So it can be a dialogue, but sometimes I also just let them do the work because they should also create and be part of the process.
You're one of the German actresses who also stars in American blockbusters, such as the first Avenger, Captain America, and Black Panther. In Germany, you played a detective, in the popular Sunday evening series Tatort. Do you have a favorite film role where you say that is closest to my heart?
I think my favorite role is Io from the Marvel Universe, because when I show up in America, I can be 100% flow. But it has to do with the character that I play. A lot of the time, the characters are very confident, very bossy, although I'm not like that in private life, but I can give it to the creative team. And sometimes you need a certain confidence. And I like playing Io because Wakanda is very inclusive. Yeah, Ayo is queer. Ayo is a warrior. Ayo protects the royal family, but also the country. And these are all things that are, for me, very inspirational because I'm not a superhero. I'm just a human being who learned how to act and other skills. But to jump into this character and have the full freedom and have a team that trusts, that's fun. And that's why I love playing the character and I love the costumes. They're so diverse, like very feminine, depending on what we do. Even when we walk into the UN, you think, wow, the costumes are amazing, and I love that.
I think you mentioned already, but you practice martial art, certain disciplines. You can explain yourself because you do you do a lot, so that means, of course, talking about Aya, you do all your like the whole role that it comes no stance. So you have to be quite strong physically as well to manage because acting is also really physical work, even if it's quiet. But doing both, I think it's a certain, it's even more involvement with your like full body as well.
I think the difference is I started doing sports when I was a child. I was an athlete. I did like short distance. And then I studied dance, which is like 4 years every day. You have to dance between 8 and 4 o'clock. I'm used to doing the ensuite shows here in Germany, which means you do 8 shows a week and you're off on a Monday. So this gives your body a lot of strength. But dancing is not the same like martial arts. So when I transitioned to martial arts, Kung Fu is very physical. So you need to get very strong in order to make strong strikes. And I think when you continue practicing that, it's your second nature. It's like binding shoes or brushing teeth. You don't think about it because you learn the movements. You do them so often that you just repeat without thinking. And you need that also for fashion. When you have a fashion shoot and people ask you to do a movement over and over again, because I guess of my dance training and fight training, I have more flexibility with what I can offer, but also I can do that the whole day and I don't get tired. So you can build that strength.
Films communicate, stimulate discussions, can change opinions. Do you see yourself as a role model? And when, in which sense?
I don't communicate I'm a role model, but when it comes to if anybody needs advice, like somebody says, look, I followed your career, can you tell me from your perspective what I should focus on or how I can achieve a certain goal, then I can use my experience and share what I know. That doesn't mean it's going to work for you, but that's just something I can share. And I think as long as you're open for that conversation, anyone can be a role model. And you don't have to be on a high level. Sometimes it's just experience. What have you done? And how does it work? And where did it bring you? And if I can see, oh, this is something I can learn from, yeah, then you might label me as a role model. But I also have a lot of things I can't do. I still have to learn things that might not be okay, but, I'm a human being.
And we have to learn every single day from each other, right?
Yeah.
Fashion isn't just protection from cold and heat. Fashion is constant communication, especially since we live in such a visual world. Isn't it? It's an expression of our personality, showing belonging, but also individuality at the same time. Do you agree to this? Because that is what I always say, that fashion is way more than just a piece of garment.
I think fashion for me is freedom because in the first sense, I express myself through fashion. Like you said, I can show a certain belonging. Let's say I do something, when I do martial arts, we have to wear our uniform. The minute I put on the uniform, there's a certain behavior that I show because I'm around monks. Fashion can be when I played in the orchestra, you wear a uniform because that's how you show up. You can be a waitress or be part of a crew, and there's a certain way you dress so that people can make a distinction between, okay, who is working here, who is an artist, who is entertaining us. I use fashion for a lot. Also, having an African background and growing up here, yes, of course, I am influenced by what I see in the city, what I see when I travel. But my mom, having her East African background and the way how she used to dress at home and things that she would teach me, I remember, for example, I wear a lot of piercings, and people always ask me, why do you do that? And for us home, it was not a problem because I'm East African. Look at East African women online. They have high jewelry, loads of piercings. Sometimes you can distinguish people what tribe they're from depending on what side of the nose they wear their piercing. And fashion, all of that is identity, protection, showing who I maybe belong to. Sometimes it can be political if I have information on my outfit, and it starts a dialogue.
I think our time is over, which I'm really, I could sit here and listen to you talk, how you talk about fashion, really. Thank you so much. But one last question. Yeah. One last question, Anne, is okay, huh? Okay. We meet every single day, Fashion Week, every single day at the fashion shows. How are you enjoying your time right now? Are we doing well? Is it a good direction, what we see here in Berlin?
I think it's healing because, to be honest, you make it easy for me. Weeks ago, I think you guys started in November, December, when you were slowly announcing what is happening in Berlin, where is it going to happen. You give us enough information about the different artists that I have the time at home then to see what is their journey, where do they come from, what is important, sustainability, just expressing yourself in a new way, moving forward together. For me, I get my input for the whole year starting with the Fashion Week because we're going into Berlinale, and I like putting film and fashion together. I like meeting the designers and ask, hey, is there anything that you would like me to present on a red carpet? Because that's how you can bring fashion and film together. And yeah, you're doing an amazing job.
Thank you very much, Florence.
Thank you.
A big applause, please.
Thank you. Thank you.